Yesterday we got up to the middle of the blessing that Jacob gave to his fourth son, Yehuda. And the blessings that he gave to his first three sons, namely Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, weren't really such blessings. Later on, we're going to see at the very end of the Torah that Moses, before he goes into the land of Israel, he again blesses all the tribes. There, the blessings are much more positive. He tells them what's going to be. Here it says that Yaakov wanted to reveal the end. He wanted to bless all of them to the utmost level, but it was closed to him that he wasn't able to do it. So he told them things that were going to happen in the interim. One of the exceptions is Yehuda. It says that Yehuda, as soon as he saw that the first three brothers weren't really getting such blessings, exactly the opposite, Yaakov was reproving them for the bad things that they did. Reuven, it said that he disarrayed the bed of Bilhah because he was angry for a different reason, and Shimon and Levi, that he reproved them because they were also their tribes later on were involved in some pretty sordid things. Shimon was the story with Zimri, where they had relations with these non-Jewish women, the daughters of Moab and the Midian. And Levi was the story with Korach, when Korach was a Levi, that he made rebellion against against Moses. And also they killed Shimon and Levi. They were the ones that were involved in the attempted murder of Yosef and more. So Yehuda heard this and he sort of stepped back. He didn't want to be reproved because he also had done his share, so to speak, of non-good things. Namely that he refused to give his son to get married to Tamar, and he himself had relations to Tamar. She was his daughter-in-law, and he's thinking that she was a prostitute on the war. Okay, in the end, of course, that brought Mashiach, but nevertheless, he thought that maybe he was going to get one of these reproofs also. And Yaakov said, don't worry about it. Yehuda, you are going to be blessed. You're different from all the others. You're going to get a big blessing. And in fact, even more, and that's where we're up to now. That is where we are up to now. Oh, excuse me. Oh, Yehuda. So it says, let's go from the beginning. We did the explanation a little bit. So it says, Yehuda, you are Yehuda. Your merits are standing for you. Your brothers will all surrender to you. They'll thank you. Your hand is on the neck of your enemies. We explained that in the Chassidut class in the morning. And it will bow down to you. We had a beautiful explanation of that in Chassidut, the Kabbalistic explanation that Avicha is referring to wisdom or to mercy, Torah or kindness, and the results that come out of that will be Ishtachabu, will bow down to you, will come drawn down to you, all these blessings from above. That's what we said before. But essentially what it means is that all the other tribes are going to bow down to Yehuda because he's going to be the king. This is talking mostly about Mashiach. Gur Aryeh Yehuda, that he is a lion, that he is destroying all of the enemies, and nobody can, here we said, right, that he did the several things, Yehuda, that he separated himself from his brothers. First of all, he was the one that suggested that they should take Joseph from the pit and sell him to the Midianim and not kill him. That was Yehuda. And later on, Yehuda, he ruined his whole reputation, risked ruining his own reputation when he admitted that he had relations with Tamar, which was his daughter-in-law. And he admitted having relations with her, and that saved her. And it also eventually produced Mashiach, because parrots came out of that. And that merit. There's also a beautiful OrHaChaim over here that he says, Gur Aryeh Yehuda, this is from the story with Tamar, as he's a gur, he's like a young lion. And this hence also at the beginning when he said that your brothers will surrender to you. What it means that they'll surrender to you? Because the brothers all admitted that he was righteous and that he admitted his fault, that he had relations, unknowing that that was his daughter-in-law, but still. It says, your greatness is going to come, your brothers will, Ata Yaducha, it says, your greatness is going to come from yourself. That all of your brothers are going to be bowing down to you. But this wouldn't be given to anybody else. You should understand that parrots and zerach that came from what you did, what happened? He had relations with Tamar and thinking that she was a prostitute. And he said, I'll pay you for this, and I'll give you a goat. And she said, well, where's the goat? He said, well, I don't have a goat, but I'll leave you, if you want to, some collateral. So she said, okay, leave me your staff and your ring and your cloak. And so he did. And then he set the goat and she disappeared. She wasn't there. Then afterwards, he thought it was totally unrelated. Someone said, your daughter-in-law is pregnant. She had relations with someone else. She was supposed to get married to one of your sons, and she had relations with somebody else. So he said, well, the punishment for that is death. So she sent the staff to him. She didn't stand up and say in public and say, I'm pregnant, but it's from him. She sent him the staff and said, whoever this belongs to, I'm pregnant from that person. Now, he could have just kept quiet, but he didn't. He admitted it, and that saved her. And because it saved her, she gave birth. And she happened to, these had twins, and one of those twins was parrots. And from parrots would come Mashiach. So that's what it means. What is it? He took Teref, Teref b'nei Elisa. From the Teref, from your spoils, you rose up. Which Teref? The Teref from the forces of evil that Adam, the first man, he aroused. All those souls you saved by making Tamar pregnant, and that eventually will bring Mashiach, which will elevate all the souls in the whole world. So that was the greatness. That's why you're called like a lion. Elsewhere it says that the lion is like the king of all the animals. And so it is used. Yehuda will be like the king. He'll overpower his all of his brothers. Okay. Here it says, all the other lions are called Gerim, but you are called Gur Aryeh, because you're the son of a lion, which is the highest of all the animals. This is hinting at that in the future is going to come David, King David. That King David is going to defeat all of the enemies from all around. And that's what it means, Gur Aryeh. This Gur Aryeh, this is the gematria. I'm sorry. And I said the first letters of Gur Aryeh Yehuda, right, is Gimel, Aleph, and Yud. That's 14, and that's the gematria of David. 14, 464. David, Gur Aryeh Yehuda. Okay, Lo Yisur, here it is clearly. Lo Yisur Shevet mi Yehuda, the staff, the scepter of rulership will not depart from Yehuda. Umechokek mi bein raglav, and the lawmaker from his feet. In other words, from his seat. Ad ki yavo Shiloh, until Shiloh comes. Who is Shiloh? We'll see. That's Mashiach. Shiloh. The velo yikat amim, and to him will be gathered all nations. Rashi. And the from David and onward, in other words, David was right before the first temple. From David and onward, We talked about this before. The Jewish people, when they got out of Egypt, it was 440 years until the first temple was built. So they were 40 years wandering in the desert. 480 years, 480 years. There was 40 years wandering in the desert, and 440 years they were in the land of Israel until the temple was built. Who ruled over them all this time? That was the time of the judges, the shoftim. They were called the judges because they made all the judgments. They told everybody what to do. It was sort of like a king, but not really. They didn't have the same level as a king. It was more like an advisor. They told everyone. They called all the shots. 440 years. So in those, then there were different tribes were leaders. But as soon as David became leader, then the only leaders were from the tribe of Yehuda, except for that period of time when the kingdom was split. And then David still remained the leader, but only over 2 tribes. And the other 10 tribes were ruled over by Ephraim. The tribe of Ephraim, from Yerovim and Nevad, and those that came from. It says these are the heads from the time of King David, though. They were always, now 1 second, from the time of King David, and there was the temple was destroyed. And it says, nevertheless, the first temple was destroyed. Who was ruling over also the relatives of David? These are the heads of Gullus in Bavel. They were called Nasi. Sharodim et Am b'Shevet. They controlled the people with a hard hand. And they were like kings. These are the Mechokek b'mein raglav, the lawmakers. These are the pupils. These are the people we call the Nasim, which are in the land of Israel. Until Shiloh comes. What does he say? That you will be the ruler until comes Shiloh. What does it mean until comes Shiloh? Shiloh is the Melech HaMashiach, is the King Mashiach. The kingship is his. And also, Targum Onkelos, the Onkelos says, Midrash Agada, Shiloh means Yuvlo Shai. Shai, lo. They will bring him Shai. Shai is like gifts. Shai Lamora. It's in Psalms. V'lo yikat amim. All nations will gather to him. That the Yud, this is a grammar. Why yikat amim? I should say yikat. Okay. All people will gather to him. Okay, it's more just wants to explain grammatically what it exactly mean, what it means. Bal HaTurim, we have a very interesting Bal HaTurim here. Look at this. Is this right? Yes. Okay. Bal HaTurim. The rulership will not be removed from Yehuda. The Midrash Agada says, Lo Yeshur, not only that it won't go away, but I never said it won't go away, but Lo Yifrach, it also will not increase. Like Surya Geffen, okay. Ad Kiavo Shiloh, until the Mishkan, the tabernacle will be destroyed. Where was the tabernacle? When they entered the land of Israel, until the temple was built, they had the tablets, right? And there were commandments. They had to make sacrifices. Where did they make up? They put the tabernacles in different places. It started off in Gilgal, and then after that it went to Shiloh, and then it went to Nob, and then it went to to Gibon. But the main place it was in Shiloh. There it was 369 years. So when it was destroyed, that's when the Yavo Shiloh means when it was destroyed. So that's what it means. And there won't be any growth of the king of Yehuda. This is in these 440 years until the temple was built, right? Before the temple was built. So the most of that time, it was in Shiloh. That was the place where it was. So as soon as that was destroyed, then there could be David. Then David was chosen. That's what it means, that the kingship of King David will not be will not be taken from him. It will and given to anyone else. Like, for instance, King Saul. King Saul, he was from the tribe of Benjamin. But the kingship was taken away from him. And another explanation is Shiloh is not the place Shiloh, but Shiloh is the Melech Mashiach. The Mashiach will come, then Mashiach ben David, he'll be the son of, relative of King David. So it comes out, Lo Yasur, that it'll never stop. The rulership of King David, starting from Yehuda, will never stop. From before the beginning of the first temple until the Mashiach. And after the Mashiach, of course, it'll never stop. Okay. Another continued blessing for Yehuda. We talked about this in the morning. He will tie to the vine his donkey, and to the one of the branch of the vine, the son of his donkey, and he'll wash with wine his garments, and with the blood of grapes is another type of garment. Here he says garment, suso, is also a type of a garment, and I've never seen anything comparable in the Torah. That's what he says in all the Torah. But then he brings down the onkelos. This onkelos was a convert. Onkelos was a convert. This was like in the time of the first temple. Huh? That's right, first temple? No, I'm sorry, it was the second temple. And onkelos, he translated into Aramaic the whole Torah, and they say he'd be translated with the Ruach HaKodesh, with a holy inspiration. So he translates it in a totally different way. He says that the Jewish people will surround the city, and they will build the temple, and there'll be great tzaddikim that will surround it, and they'll serve the Torah and teach the people, and it will be it'll be the beautiful color of their garments with the shining. Okay, what does this mean? How did he get that from these words? How did he get it? This is supposed to be a translation, and this is with the Holy Spirit he got this. And what's it going on over here? So Rashi explains. Look. It says, Onkelos explains, it's talking about the whole thing, this whole sentence is just a continuation of before. It's talking about the Mashiach. The Geffen, the wine, the grapevines, that's the Jewish people. Iro, that we said, means a donkey, but the Iro means a city. Jerusalem, Ir is a city. Shureka, this is again the Jewish people. It says, Anochi nitati shorek, like in Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah says, I planted a grape. That's a shorek. That's the Jewish people, referring to the Jewish people. Bnei Asano, simple meaning means the son of a donkey. No, let's take the words exactly. Bnei means to build. They will build the Eichel. That means, and Eitano means that the holy temple, like the Shar Itmon in the book of Yechezkel. Eitan also refers to the holy temple. And you can also translate it in other ways. Geffen, these are the tzaddikim. Bnei Atano, these are the people who learn the Torah. Why? Because they ride their donkeys to go to different places to learn. They wash with wine. What does it mean they wash in wine? Means that the garments are colored something like the color of wine. That's suso. Okay, so he explains it in any case what these words mean, but he explains it in attachment to, he says this is just a continuation of what it says before, that until Shiloh, talking about the Mashiach, this is a continuation of the Mashiach. The Mashiach will come in connection with Jerusalem, with the connection to those people learning Torah. Tachlili einayim biyayin, his eyes will be red from wine. Well, the ben shinayim, and his teeth will be white, levan, his teeth will be white from milk. In other words, his land will be plenty. Like I said, not everything is talking about Mashiach. So he's saying that your land, the land of Yehuda, will be full of plenty of wine And because the wine will be so plenteous, people will be red-eyed from wine. And your eyes get red from drinking wine? I guess so. I haven't seen that. And also there'll be so much milk from some people say, when it says the land flowing of milk and honey, it means that it'll be so plentiful and the grasses and things will be so plentiful that all the cattle that give milk will be able to eat freely. That's a sign of plenty, that there'll be a lot of milk in the land. Okay, that's one explanation. Zebulun. Let's just do two more. Zebulun. Okay, there was Issachar and Zebulun. Now these are the six. First of all, he takes the 6 sons of Leah. If you remember, Leah had 4 sons from Yaakov, one after the other. And then she got 2 more sons from Yaakov, but that was after she ate these things called the dudaim. She got these dudaim, which is a question exactly what it is, but it's some sort of plant. And she ate this plant and she became pregnant. And she had 2 sons, Zebulun and Issachar. Zebulun lechof yamim yishkon, v'hu lechof aniot, v'yarkaso al tzidon. Yeah, just give me 1 minute, please. 1 moment. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, let me just a small correction over here. It was the son of Leah that he gathered these flowers or whatever they were called, dudaim, and this was supposed to be to help to get pregnant. He was going to give it to his mother, but instead Rachel came and said, give me the dudaim. I don't have any children. I need something to help me to get pregnant, to make me more fertile. And so he said, okay, but he said, but you have to give up your chance, your night to be with Yaakov tonight. And she said, okay. Rachel said, okay. And sure enough, Leah became pregnant that night, and she became pregnant again. Once she became pregnant with Issachar and then Zebulun. Why does it put Zebulun first? Zebulun, he was born second. Why was he put? Why do we talk about him first? Here we have, right? It says there was Levi, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. That's the order that they were born. Issachar was born next, right? Issachar was born A. And here's Zebulun. Where is Issachar? After him. That's not right. Should be the other way around. Why did God decide to put Zebulun first? So he said, because Zebulun, he used to work and make money. And he would give that money to Issachar. Why? Because Issachar, he sat and learned Torah. If it wasn't for Issachar learning Torah, as Zebulun would not succeed in his learning. But if it wasn't for Zebulun making money, Issachar would not succeed in his learning. Which was more important? So God decided that the money was more important. It was making the money and giving it to Issachar, charity, was more important than learning Torah. That doesn't take away from the importance of learning Torah. The whole world stands on Torah. Torah is of utmost importance. But the charity that's given for learning Torah in this way is even more so. So let's see. Zebulun, it says, on the shores of the sea he dwelled. It was the shore where there were ships, all the docks were there. But Yarchaseh, and his border went to Sidon. Now, Sidon is, if you look at a map, it's like in the middle of Lebanon. If you look at the borders of Israel, Israel is supposed to encompass Lebanon and Jordan and a lot of Persia. That's what it's for. Those were the lands that were promised by God to Abraham. And now we only have 7 of the lands. And the Israeli government wants to give that away also. But we have 7 of the lands. And in the future, Mashiach is going to be take possession of the other three lands as well. And the non-Jews that live there will be very, very happy because under their present government, they're not benefiting the way they should. Okay, so it says Zebulun, he lives on the shore of the seas, will be his land. That's Sfar, means Chof, means on the border. The word Chof means on the border. And he will be always there on where the ships are coming, places of like the docks. And ships are bringing their goods. This was Zebulun. He was the one that was working. He was doing business. And Mamsi Mazan, he would give food to the tribe of Issachar. Why? Why couldn't they work? They were working, but they were working at Torah. Ham Oskim b'Torah. They were learning Torah. And the Torah, of course, is the backbone and the blood of the Jewish people. The essence of the Jewish people is the Torah. V'hu Omar Moshe. Samach Zebulun b'tzeisecha v'Yisachar b'alecha. When Moses, later on, we'll see at the end of the Torah, like I said, when Moses blessed them, so he blessed Zebulun first, and Yisachar b'olecha. Blessed, should rejoice, Zebulun, when you go out to make money, they left, and Yisachar would stay put, they would stay in one place, in your tents learning Torah. Zebulun went out to make money. Yisachar, he learned Torah in tents. In the tent of Torah, it's called. The end of his border will be next to Sidon. Because we'll see sometime, maybe I'll pull up a map of the borders of the tribes. Each tribe had his own area that they lived in. Yisachar, he's the one that learned Torah, right? Yisachar Chamor Gorim, he is a donkey with thick bones. Rovetz bein mishpatayim, that he crouches down between the different borders. What does this mean? That he's got thick bones. In other words, he can bear the yoke of learning Torah. And because they had to teach Torah also, so they had to move around from place to place. It says Yisachar is like a donkey that has thick bones. And he can bear any sort of a burden, the burden of the Torah, like a donkey that's very strong that you can put him on a very heavy load. And he's crouches down between the borders. What does that mean? He is like a donkey that goes day and night, and he hasn't got any place to sleep in a house. He hasn't got like a stall or something. And when he wants to rest, so he rests down in between the borders of cities, etc., where the city where he's taking his wares from to the city where he's going, that's where he rests. Here's an interesting thing. Bal HaTurim. It says, Yisachar Chomer Gorim. He's called the Chomer Gorim because he listens to the cry out of a donkey, and he goes to. What's it? Oh, I'm sorry, Leah. That Leah heard the sound of the donkey, and she went to Yaakov and brought him to her tent. What does it mean? Yaakov was supposed to have slept that night with Rachel, but because her son Reuven gathered up these dudaim, these plants, these fertility plants, and he gave it to Rachel. Rachel said, "Please give it to me." So Rachel said, Leah said, "I'll give it to you, but you have to give me the rights to sleep with Yaakov tonight." And she did. So as soon as she heard his donkey coming, so she went to meet him and says, "You're going to sleep with me tonight." Okay. It was really, one second, a really good one I wanted to learn over here. 1 second. Give me a second. Oh, you know what? I skipped one. I skipped one that I wanted to say. And here it is. The Bal HaTurim on this Shiloh. Am I right? Let's see. Oh, here it is. I'm going backwards. I skipped over one. This is talking about Yehuda. And Yehuda, of course, the Mashiach is going to come from Yehuda. So it says, the staff of rulership won't be removed from Yehuda, and the law making from between his feet. In other words, so it says these words, mechokek mibein raglav, the Bal HaTurim, it was Yaakov Bal HaTurim, a genius, especially in the calculating numbers of letters. These three words, if you count up all the letters, right? Vav is 6, Mem is 40, Chet is 8, etc. You count up all the letters. This comes to the same gematria as Talmidei Chachamim, Torah scholars. Also, Mechokek, the lawmakers. This comes out to the number 248. That's exactly the number of the positive commandments, and also the number of the limbs of every person. There's 248 limbs because Yehuda, he watched over, he controlled all of his 248 limbs. That's why he'll merit to be Mashiach. It says, Yavo Shiloh, until Shiloh comes. Here, where is it? Ad ki Yavo Shiloh, until Shiloh comes. What is the Shiloh? Listen to what he says. Where is this? Bal HaTurim. Oh, Shiloh. This is the gematria. This is Shiloh. What? 345. 345. That's the gematria of Moshe. 300. Shin is 345. Shiloh. I skipped one again. Wait. Yavo Shiloh. Until Yavo Shiloh. Here. Ki Yavo Shiloh. Yavo Shiloh is the gematria of Mashiach. Yavo Shiloh is the gematria of Mashiach. Shiloh is the gematria of Moshe. That says about Moshe, Vayese Rashi Am, that then Yehuda was holy. He made Yehuda holy because Shari Yehuda Rigmasam. Okay, anyway, so Yehuda, he became the progenitor of the Mashiach, and Moshe was the one who made him that way. Here we go. Two more. Let's just do two more. We had Issachar. We had Zebulun. So we said, Zebulun, you made the money. He went out to the money. Issachar, he was going to be like a donkey that he's going to bear the burden of learning Torah and teaching Torah. Again, the Dat Zakeni brings that also. When Yehuda came, when Yaakov came back from the field, as Leah heard the sound of his donkey that he was approaching, and she went to him and said, "You're going to sleep with me tonight." Rachel agrees. I gave her these dudaim. Okay, Vayar menucha kitov. He saw rest, that it was good. That the oretz ki ne'ema, and the land was pleasant, and he tilted his shoulder to carry, and he became like the heavily taxed. What does this mean? What's it mean? Rashi. He saw that his part, the part where Issachar was, that it was a blessed land. There were a lot of fruits. It was very fruitful. And so therefore, he tilted his shoulder to carry, to lift up the yoke of the Torah. And he became, to all of the Jewish people, like heavily taxed. What does that mean? That he went around and told them what to do according to the Torah. And he ordered everyone and told them what the Torah tells them. That's what it says, B'nei Yisachar Yodei Bina Le'itim. That tells the Jewish people what they should do. It says that from Yisachar came the 200 heads of the Sanhedrin. The 200 heads of the Sanhedrin, that all of their brothers, it says the majority of the teachers were from Issachar. The Talmidei Chachamim came from Issachar. That is said over here. Where's this? 1 second. Where is that? That is over here. Zebulun Issachar. Oh, it says. it says, this is the Bal HaTurim. I didn't finish the Bal HaTurim. I should have finished it. This says that the majority of the Sanhedrin, they came from Issachar. That's what it means, Rovitz bein mishpatayim, that they would, Rovitz means that they would spread out Torah in the Jewish people. Where from the Lishkat HaGazis, from the Sanhedrin, where they were teaching, So they would have, that was the thing of Issachar. Their thing was Torah. As important as they were, Zebulun, who provided them their livelihood, was even more important. Because if it wasn't for Zebulun, they wouldn't have been able to learn Torah. They would have to go and make money themselves. Okay, so they took on themselves the burden of Torah. Let's just a little bit. Dan Yedin Amoka Achad Shiftei Israel. Dan will judge his people like one of the judges of Israel. That was Samson. Samson came from the tribe of Dan. They will take revenge on the Palestine like one of the judges of Israel. All the Jewish people will be like one with Samson, Shimshon. And he'll judge all of them. This is talking about Shimshon, this prophecy. Shimshon was actually the last of the judges. He's the unit, like one of the judges. He'll be like one of the judges of Israel who will judge. Who is this one of the judges that will judge all of Israel? This is David. The David will come from Yehuda, and Samson will be a ruler just like King David was. He'll unite all the Jewish people behind him. Dan will be like a snake on the road, shififon, like a poisonous snake on the path that bites the heels of the horse, and the driver falls backwards. That's the way a snake does it. But that's what happened to Samson when they tied him up to these two big pillars that were in there. They had this big, whatever it was, idolatry house that they had. There were thousands of people. There were people on the roof. It says that everybody that was inside and on the outside fell down. And that's what it means that Samson took revenge on everybody. Just like a snake that you can't heal, it's a poisonous snake. There are certain poisonous snakes, there's no cure for them. Also, the same thing is, as Samson really destroyed and took revenge on all of the enemies. For your salvation, I hope God. What's it talking about? He prophesied. This is a prophesy that the Palestine would take out the eyes of Samson, and in the end, he said one time, "Remember me, God, strengthen me only one more time," and he pulled down these two huge pillars and killed all these thousands of people that were there, thus ending the rule of the Palestinians, but also ending his own life. Samson, the Gibor. So now we have more than half of the tribes have been blessed. And well, Dan was one of those that came from the son of Bilhah. The Bilhah was the maidservant of Rachel. So Dan came from her. So we have now more than half of the tribes have been blessed. Now we're going to see an interesting thing, but we'll have to do this tomorrow. That Yaakov blessed the two sons of Yosef, because Yosef was not going to be counted as one of the tribes. He's going to now be counted as two of the tribes. Yosef will be counted as two of the tribes, but there's no tribe of Yosef. The tribe of Yosef is now Ephraim and Manasseh. But interestingly enough, he's going to give a blessing to Yosef as well. We'll see that tomorrow. Hope to see you tomorrow, 8:15 in the morning. God bless you. Have a good day with Mashiach now.